I'm meteorologist John Weatherby.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You are listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, and I'm your host, Bob Roth. And it is Friday, December 16th. 2 more Fridays left in the year. Where has 2016 gone? But today's show is an extra special show because I've got 3 guests here in the studios. And we are going to talk today about, of course, our older adult population, but we're also going to talk about Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's one of the 5th leading causes of death today. And in the state of Arizona, it's the 4th. And it's a challenge that we are all burdened with that continues to grow. We don't have quite a solution yet, but we're working feverishly to do so. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, we have been on the air here at Money Radio Studios, coming at you live today from the Scottsdale Air Park for 3 years. And it's hard to believe we're going to get ready to kick off our 4th year in the 2017 January. But it's exciting because this show isn't about Bob Roth and what I bring to the party. It's about the guests I bring here to the show. So because we have such a fun-filled, packed day here today, talking about Alzheimer's, talking about new innovations in terms of not just treatment, but ways to care for people that are afflicted with this disease, I want to get the show started. So if you tuned in last week, I had 2 guest hosts here hosting the show, and 2 of my colleagues, one was Michelle Toft, she's our Director of Memory Care Programming, and Andrea Garcia, our Director of Client Services, did that show. So if you missed that one, go up to our website at cypresshomecare.com, click on the radio button, and you can hear that show. But Michelle is accompanying me here today on the studio because we are talking about Alzheimer's, and that's something that's very relevant to our discussion, and you have such great input and experience in that area. So welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back. And just to her right, my left, is Glenn Piche. And Glenn Piche is a healthcare veteran expert, if you would. He's been in the industry a long time, has worked in the pharmaceutical world, has worked in the acute and post-acute side, home health. Am I missing anything there, Glenn?
Skilled, home health, home care.
Home care, hospice. There you go. So you've got it all covered.
I understand the levels of care. Thanks for having me, Bob.
Good. It's good to have you here on the show. And just to his right, my left, is Dr. John Denboer. And Dr. John Denboer is a neurologist, and he's got an incredible company called Smart Brain Aging. And it is a neuropsychology for dementia and Alzheimer's afflicted patients. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate to be here.
It's good to have you here, and I want to just get things kicked off and really talk about what we're seeing out there. And I know we are looking at about 5.4 million Americans that are afflicted with this disease. And can I call you John?
Oh, please.
All right.
You pronounced my last name right, which is pretty awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, but you can call me John.
Well, I had a little help from Glenn because
Glenn
gave me a little bit of help, and you know what? I know we were having some technical difficulties with his mic, so we're going to get him straightened out.
Okay.
But, the numbers, the facts and figures are so daunting. They really are. And, I mean, when we look at by 2030, they're talking about 15.4 million Americans afflicted with this disease. We're also talking about it costing our economy approximately $1.4
trillion a year. It's scary. I had Dr. Pierre Theriot from the Banner Alzheimer's Institute here.
Yeah.
And he said it's not an epidemic, it's pandemic. And
yeah, totally pandemic. And I think the numbers that you just gave, Bob, you're a very, very smart guy.
Well,
but
thank you.
I might say are terrifically underrepresented.
Well, I think they're underrepresented, and this is what I wanted you to chime in on, because while there's 5.4 million people that have been diagnosed, how many people are out there on the streets today, driving in cars and living their lives and living amongst us that have dementia or Alzheimer's?
Right, and those numbers are the statistics the Alzheimer's Association put out last year for Alzheimer's only type dementia. And Alzheimer's is only one of many, many types of dementia. It happens to be 60 to 80% of all dementia, so increase that by at least 40%.
Wow. I mean, it is scary. And for me and for Michelle, because we run this home care company, the biggest challenge that we run into is the families and the stress that it puts on families. And you know, for us, it's finding ways to help them cope with this disease. And, you know, we have to oftentimes explain to them, this is not your dad, or this is not your mom. I know that it looks like them, but those behaviors that they're having, this is not ordinary, right?
Right. This is the disease process, and the disease is a disease of relationships, not just of what it does to the brain itself.
So every 66 seconds, someone in the United States supposedly is developing this disease. This is the 5th leading cause of death. And all the ones that are ahead of us the numbers are shrinking, and this is growing. So we have a real challenge amongst us. And for us in the caregiving business, and, you know, I want you, John, to talk a little bit about what you're doing with Smart Brain Aging. It's ways to help those families to be able to manage their loved ones and make meaningful days for them so that they can live as productive life as they can before this disease overtakes them.
Yeah, I think it is a very bewildering and scary time because this is at a pandemic level and will be in the next, essentially the next 10 years, and then will remain like that for the next 40 years at least. And then the wake of that will then result in something that will probably have remnants of pandemic levels of disease. And so in no small estimation is this the number one global concern, perhaps next to climate change.
Well, what's interesting, and for our listening audience, a couple weeks ago, CBS 60 Minutes did a piece on this disease, and profiled in the center of it was Banner Alzheimer's Institute. And for our listening audience who's listened in before, I'm about to start my 9th year on their board, and they have done some phenomenal, or have had some phenomenal breakthroughs. And one of them was profiled there in that piece. And I encourage our listening audience to find the 60 Minutes piece that was on CBS. You can find it right online. Is the fact that they found this family that lives in Medellin, Colombia, where 5,000 members of this family are predisposed to have this disease. And this disease has morphed itself. It's changed in the way that every one of those family members will have early onset dementia or Alzheimer's, and as early as 45 years old. So I would imagine, and John, you can chime in on this, as a scientist, it's like a kid in a candy store.
Yes, it is. It is. And the folks at Banner Alzheimer's are doing amazing work in that area. Eric Ryman, Pierre, Jen Doherty, Bill Burke. They're all, we're very, very lucky to have scientists as accomplished as they are, and including Dr. Sabah and other people in the city. I think it is like a kid in the candy store. At the same time, it's extremely difficult to dissect the human genome in such a way that we would understand it. And I think the unfortunate reality is as great as science is advancing, the idea of understanding the human genome is essential for understanding drugs that can work within the brain. And I do think, unfortunately, that's going to be a very long and complicated process.
And I agree. And we're coming up on a break, but I mean, I think the expectation is out there that if we can avoid these amyloid plaques, we can avoid the disease onset. But we don't know that if that's true yet.
Yeah, more shall be revealed than that. I just actually attended a conference in San Diego where I saw 3 presentations that said it's not about plaques. It's about other things. So it's when you think you have one thing cornered, then there's it's like that Gopher game that you play at the arcade.
Well, the nice thing that I will share with you is, as being a member of the Banner Board, we have raised $55 million in philanthropy here locally, and we've also gotten grant money. We've gotten over $500 million. So, I mean, $500 million in grant money from Big Pharma, from big foundations. So it's encouraging. People are seeing that, as well as NIH. NIH has given large amounts of grants because they see it as well. Well, as you can hear, we're getting taken out on our first segment. It's hard to believe we're 1 down. We got 3 more to go. If you're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, I've got John Denboer, I've got Glenn Piche, and Michelle Toft here in the studio. We will be right back.
If you've ever thought about investing in real estate, but you haven't because you just aren't interested in the typical hassles and headaches of real estate, then don't touch that dial. For over a decade, Investment Property Experts has been helping investors take advantage of the growing Metro Phoenix real estate market through a unique offering of turnkey real estate investment services. Investment Property Experts eliminates the hassles and headaches by providing a full inventory of single-family homes that are fully renovated and occupied with tenants. IPX manages the property for you during the time you own it, and when the time comes, they can help you get it back on the market and facilitate the sale, all at no additional cost to you. And if you'd rather not purchase and own investment properties, Investment Property Experts offers a 9% return through deed of trust investment programs. Real estate market conditions in Phoenix have never been better. And with Investment Property Experts on your side, you'll be able to diversify into profitable real estate investments right from day one. Investment Property Experts, your true one-stop shop for real estate investing success. Get started by visiting azipx.com.
At AskMrAnnuity.com, we buy and sell structured settlements. Investors get yields from 5 to 7% from A-plus rated insurance companies. These are guaranteed payments that are perfect income stream for your retirement. If you currently own a structured settlement, we can quickly turn your future income payments into a lump sum of cash. Call today for a quote. You'll be glad you did. Catch the Ask Mr. Annuity radio show Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m. That's Saturday, 7:30 a.m. or go to AskMrAnnuity.com. We're Arizona's premier factor for structured settlements.
Hey, Money Radio listeners. Corey Scheidler here from Core Fitness. Say, I want everyone to have an awesome holiday season. I want you to stay in great shape and start 2017 off on your best foot. I also want to help every child in Phoenix to experience the joy of the season, and that's why I want to give the Toys for Tots. From now and until December 19th, if you bring in a new unwrapped toy, I'll give you 2 free weeks of sessions at Core Fitness. To take advantage of this offer, call me, 480-620-3000. That's 480-620-3000.
Give yourself a new kitchen this holiday season with Caesarstone quartz countertops. Caesarstone, the look of natural stone, yet resistant to cracks, stains, scratches, and heat. Find your local Caesarstone dealer at CaesarstoneUS.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and if you missed the first segment, we're in our second right now. We are talking Alzheimer's, and I've got some great experts here in the studio. I've got Michelle Toft, our Director of Memory Care Programming, and I've got Glenn Piche. Is your mic working now?
I think it is.
There you go. Wow. All right, so we're going to have you lead the second segment.
Okay.
And then I got John Denboer from Smart Brain Aging here on the studio with us. And if you missed that first segment, you can catch it up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. You can catch the first segment and obviously these next 3, and you can catch about 150 that we've been bringing to you for the last 3 years. So, John, when we left off, we were talking about the causes of Alzheimer's, and a lot of the stuff keeps getting debunked. We think we make progress, and like you say, you turn over a rock and you see something new. But the nice thing, and when we were going out of the segment, I was talking about the money that has come into the Banner Alzheimer's Institute that I know of.
But I also know that money's come into Barrows and TGen and others here. I mean, the greatest thing about living here in Phoenix is that we really do have a consortium. We have this Alzheimer's consortium that Eric Ryman has really been instrumental. Dr. Ryman is the chief medical officer over at Banner, and he is the brainchild of Banner Alzheimer's Institute. And he really believes in having an open source, an open dialogue where lots of people like to kind of keep things covered up and keep it to themselves. But because this thing is, as we talked about being pandemic, we're in a race. We're in a big-time race, and it's kind of like back in I think it was 61 or 62. I actually think it was 1963 when John F. Kennedy said, we are going to put a man in the moon by the end of this decade. We need to figure out a way to, if it's not find a cure, figure out a way to delay or turn off this awful illness from ever happening. Kind of like in the way that HIV discoveries have happened where, people can live normal lives with HIV and never get AIDS. Yep. Yeah, so it's encouraging, but we have a lot more work to do. We really, really do. So I do want to say this: you're doing a lot of work over smart brain aging, and one of the biggest misnomers, and Michelle, you brought it up before, is that people think of Alzheimer's, and they don't really think about all the other dementias. Alzheimer's represents what percentage of all dementias?
Last statistics were 60 to 80% of all dementias represented by Alzheimer's type dementia. And dementia is that umbrella term. Dementia is like saying cancer. And if somebody says cancer, you say, well, what kind of cancer do you have? Well, if somebody says we have dementia, that should be the question. What type of dementia do you have? And so with Alzheimer's being the most common type.
And, there are other kinds of dementias. And, I am somewhat of a neophyte. I know enough to be dangerous, but the frontal lobe dementias are the ones that create lots of behaviors, challenging behaviors, and really puts a lot of families in a quagmire, for lack of a better word.
Right. That frontal temporal dementia is one that behaviors can be one of the first signs of the diagnosis, as opposed to memory impairment. So folks don't often look at a dementia because they see behavior challenges instead. So they're trying to figure out, is the person angry? Are they depressed? Or do we need to get a divorce? Do we just need to call it quits, as opposed to saying, well, he doesn't remember me. He forgot to pay the bills. He forgot to do these other things.
Before we delve into dementia and some of the work that we're doing at Cypress and some of the work that John is doing at Smart Brain Aging, there are other signs or other things that can cause dementia-like behaviors. And, you are much more, fluent in this area than I am, as is John. But I know that if you have, basically, if you have a urinary tract infection, you can display dementia-like symptoms, and there are a lot of other different illnesses.
Things that we call deliriums that can happen. It can be an adverse effect to a medication that can cause things that mimic dementia, which is why it's so important to get to a good doctor and get a full medical diagnosis to figure out what's really going on. We don't want to assume that any issues with memory or with challenging behaviors are because of a dementia. It may or may not be.
Well, it's interesting you say that. Last week we had our Caregiver Appreciation Days. And, every year we try to celebrate our caregivers. We do it 3 or 4 times a year, and we make it very festive. We give them lots of gifts. We feed them. We encourage them to bring their clients in. And I had one of our caregivers I've known for nearly 10 years come into my office and said, Bob, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. And she had this scared look in her eye, and she said, Bob, I'm going to not be able to do some caregiving anymore. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, I'm really having some memory issues. And I said, tell me what's going on. And she told me a little bit, and I said, have you been to your primary care physician? She said, no. And I said, that's where you need to go first. Go to your doctor. Let's get you evaluated, because you're starting to think the worst. And you've had an ability, and this caregiver has been amazing with dementia clients or Alzheimer's clients. And I say, go there first and then see what you have. And this is just recent. This just happened last week. So it is a scary proposition when you start forgetting things. And, you know, at Cypress, and I know other healthcare professionals think about the patient, but a lot of people don't realize that they're humans too. And they're feeling these emotions where they're not just forgetting, you know, why they walked into the kitchen. They're doing a lot. They're having other memory care challenges.
Right. And if we can, and it is scary to go in and get that checked out, but we need to go in, find out what's really going on. And people delay that, which is why I think the numbers are higher than you were stating earlier. People delay going in because they're afraid to get a diagnosis. And they think, if I get diagnosed, there's nothing I can do anyway, so what's the point? And that's not true. There's so much that we can do early on to really help folks.
So much we can do. And, you know, and I think that's a great segue. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what we're doing at Cypress with our dementia program.
Of course. You know, I'm so proud of what we do for people. And it's not just for folks who are diagnosed, but for their families and their care partners as well. For our caregivers, we go through an extensive dementia training program. And I think that's so important then when we're talking to home care agencies, whatever agency you talk to, if they say they're trained in dementia care, say, great, what kind of training? What do your caregivers know? How do they do that? Our caregivers go through some really great training, both in general on dementia and client-specific training. So I spend time with families. Let me get to know you. Let me get to know some about your history. And when we do that, we can figure out what's going to make that person's day better and how do we interact with them differently to make it successful at home. And then I can also work with families and help folks understand that when they are yelling at you, that this is about the disease process. It's not about you, but there might be things that we can do differently at home so that doesn't happen again. Let me help you identify the triggers. Let me help you see if we can change or tweak something just a little bit to make it better. And people don't have to use a Cypress caregiver. They can use just that family support piece and not have any home care if they'd prefer that. So really kind of a three-tiered: caregivers, folks with dementia, and the family.
And speaking of families, we've been doing this now for, close to 18 months. Mm-hmm. And we have some factual information, and everybody in the medical profession talks about evidence-based medicine. And how much longer have we, in your mind, your estimation, have we been able to keep patients, we call them clients, that have been diagnosed at home, utilizing some of the programming that we're doing?
Our numbers are getting longer. It had been about 4 to 6 months. Now we're looking at 6 to 8 months. At home, longer, in the setting that they're familiar and comfortable with, and with a loved one successfully, to be able to have a great relationship still with a spouse or their children. It's great. 6 to 8 months longer at home. That's a huge amount of time.
It is huge. And the other thing that I want to share is that when they are told by you, it's time. They don't fight you on it. They respect and they understand that they know it's time. Right.
We've tried everything that we can at home. And once you know that you've done everything you can, there are no regrets about taking that next step.
Exactly.
And that's where that family piece is so important too, because we can help the family know that they're making the right choice for them and for their loved one.
And that's so perfect. It really is. As you can hear, we're up against a break. It's halftime here at Health Futures. We're up against a break. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth. We'll be right back.
For a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
President Obama holding his final news conference of the year this hour at the White House, expected to last an hour, with Russian hacking into the presidential election topping the agenda. The Republican chairman, meanwhile, of the Senate Intelligence Committee is defending the nation's intelligence community. Senator Richard Burr says the nation's intelligence professionals, quote, check politics at the office door and focus on their mission. More on that from Jim Sciutto.
Keep in mind, members of his own party, in fact, the president-elect of his own party, is accusing the intelligence community of politicizing this intelligence, as the president-elect dismisses their assessment that Russia is behind this attack.
The Pentagon says a Chinese warship seized a U.S. Navy unmanned underwater glider that was collecting unclassified scientific data in the South China Sea. The The U.S. has issued a formal diplomatic complaint and is asking for the drone's return. Mourners filing by John Glenn's flag-draped casket at Ohio's Capitol building saying goodbye to the history-making astronaut today. I'm Michael Toscano.
Does your basement or crawl space have damp, musty odors? Do you worry about indoor gases and pollutants? Everyday living generates moisture that can nourish mold and odors, even asthmatic triggers. Indoor pollutants linked to respiratory ailments, birth defects, and cancers can become trapped in your home. You can't buy health, but you can buy Wave's moisture control and air quality products. Wave Home Solutions for a dry, healthy home. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to dryhome123.com. That's dryhome123.com.
Getting the most from your workouts means wearing the finest performance gear. Fabric so comfortable you could, well, curl up and sleep in it. Introducing Sheex, spelled S-H-E-E-X, the world's first performance bedding. Sheex combines everything we love about quality performance fabric with everything we love about comfortable bedding, so you sleep better. Now try Sheex for 30 nights risk-free. Go to sleepcoolnow.com. Use promo code 1717 and get $40 off any sheet set. That's sleepcoolnow.com. Promo code 1717.
When the sun goes down, Money Radio heats up with Gary Caldwell, Clark Howard, and The Schnitt Show. Listen to Money Radio on 99.3 FM, where you can hear us all day, every day.
High returns on your investments? Who wouldn't want that? This is Sinclair No, with a strategy that could increase your overall return on your investment portfolio. It's called Decadian. The Decadian investment methodology encompasses a 10-year goal for financial freedom. Plus something that's really missing today, straight talk, so you know you have a financial advisor you can trust. Great investment recommendations that far exceed what your institutional markets offer. All this wrapped with performance guarantees. Only those who know what they can do will guarantee what they can do. Decadian. Decadian.com. Decadian. That's Decadian.com. Call 844-332-2342. 844-332-2342. Here for you when you need it most. Decadian.
How would you like to tell the state of Arizona you want to give to a nonprofit charity and have your donation take the place of your state taxes? Through aztaxcredit.org, you have the opportunity to give to one of several charities, and you'll receive a dollar-for-dollar tax credit. Not just a deduction, but an actual lowering of your taxes. Listen to this message on the impact you can have.
I love the idea of being able to help the hurting in our community who are trying to make ends meet. They call them the working poor, and I'm able to give to a nonprofit that serves them, and ultimately it doesn't cost me a dime. I get it all back when I file my Arizona taxes. I think everyone should choose an organization that touches their heart and take advantage of this opportunity. I tell all my friends there's a wide range of organizations on aztaxcredit.org to choose from. Just do it.
Go online to aztaxcredit.org. Choose one of the worthy charities listed. Click on the link to their website and make a donation. For your donation, you'll receive a tax credit. Too good to be true? Nope. You tell the state you want your tax dollars to go to help those in need. Go to aztaxcredit.org. aztaxcredit.org. At last, paying your taxes will feel so good.
Gift yourself a new kitchen this holiday season with Caesarstone quartz countertops. Caesarstone, the look of natural stone yet resistant to cracks, stains, scratches, and heat. Find your local Caesarstone dealer at CaesarstoneUS.com.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. The nonprofit healthcare group United Health Foundation has released its annual ranking of states based on the healthiness of the people who live in them. The health of citizens was measured by behaviors such as smoking and excessive drinking, the environmental situation including air pollution, and health insurance coverage. For the 5th year in a row, Hawaii tops the list as the healthiest state, followed by Massachusetts and Connecticut. At the bottom of the rankings are Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas. New home construction tumbled in November but remained at a level suggesting steady demand for single-family homes amid low interest rates and steady job creation. The Commerce Department said housing starts dropped more than 18% for the month. On Wall Street, stocks are down. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is off 12 points. The Nasdaq Composite is down 18, and the S&P 500 is down 5. That's Your Money Now.
Prices are for base buildings only and may not be available in some areas. This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. So call General Steel now for the quality and the price in a pre-engineered steel building that you just can't beat. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How much can you save? How about a 5,000 square foot building for under $39,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first. Call 866-95-STEEL today and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. Don't let rising steel prices put your project in jeopardy. Call now to lock in your price for 3 months. Call 866-95-STEEL. That's 866-95-STEEL. Don't spend thousands more than you should. Call 866-957-8335.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and I have in the studio today, I've got Michelle Toft, our Director of Memory Care Programming. I've got Glenn Piche, who is a healthcare veteran, and I've got John Denboer, who is the President, CEO, founder of Smart Brain Aging. If you don't have those titles, I just gave you all of them.
All of them apply.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And, we're up on our third segment, so if you missed the first two segments, we were talking about dementia, and we were talking about Alzheimer's, and you can find them, the first two segments, up on our website at cypresshomecare.com under the radio button. And in the last segment, before we took our break, we were talking about the Dementia Program that we do at Cypress. And Michelle revealed to us that over the last 18 months, we have some evidence that supports that we're able to keep family members that are afflicted with dementia at home 6 to 8 months longer. And that is phenomenal. It really is. And, it's having productive, meaningful days. And I think the biggest challenge that we run into is that so many of our older adults are sitting at home in front of Fox News, CNN, all day long and not having those meaningful days. And, for us, it's about, and for those families, it's about making those special. And while, we haven't had the breakthroughs that we would like in finding a cure or a way to delay and eliminate this disease, the thing that we've done very well in our community is the support. And Michelle talks about it a lot, and we have so many supporting agencies here, whether it be the Alzheimer's Association, whether it be Banner, Alzheimer's Institute, or it could be the Barrows Institute, Sun Health. They have their memory care program, the Navigator. So there are these resources, not so much that are for the people that are afflicted with this disease, but it's for the families that are afflicted with this disease and how do they cope with that. And the support groups that are there are so meaningful and so precious, because when you're going through it, I don't know this firsthand, I just know this from the families that we care for, you think you're going at it alone. And those support groups are so meaningful to do that. So I want to pivot over to Dr. Denboer. John, I want to talk to you a little bit about Smart Brain Aging, because you're doing some similar stuff that we are doing at Cypress. And I want to talk about, you have this Brain U online, and you've got this SMART program. What is all SMART, and what is Smart Brain Aging all about?
All right. So I was raised primarily by my grandmother for a long period of my life. And I spent a lot of time with her, and therefore spent a lot of time around aging individuals as she aged. And as you might agree, I think you all would agree, the number one thing that people want as they age is to remain independent for as long as possible. So as Michelle was speaking about that, and you've been speaking about that, Bob, that's the biggest piece for us is how do we make people independent for as long as possible? And we do it from the brain side of things. So essentially what Smart Brain Aging is it originated from research that I had done in Boston at Harvard University Medical School in 2005. And essentially what it found is across all different types of dementia, the brain is shrinking faster than normal aging. It's just shrinking at an accelerated rate. Alzheimer's, vascular dementia, frontotemporal dementia, about 25 different types of dementia. And that's due to primarily a lack of a chemical in the brain called glutamate. It's an excitatory neurotransmitter that causes the brain to shrink. So what we tried to do is find a way of organically releasing more glutamate within the synaptic gaps within the brain. And so we know that new and novel learning can help with that. But the problem is people don't do new and novel learning. They do things they already know how to do. So my grandma did crossword puzzles up until about stage 4 Alzheimer's dementia because she knew how to do the New York Times crossword puzzle. And she didn't remember any of our names, but she knew how to do that puzzle. And that's the case, I think, for many people in assisted livings, independent livings in their homes. And it's a travesty because they think that actually is helping prevent dementia, and it's not, unfortunately. And so what we have is a system, Medicare-approved system of brain exercises that are truly new and novel that people can sit down one-on-one and do with a caregiver and help release more glutamate in the synaptic gaps and therefore help prevent their brain from shriveling and have a higher quality of life and functionality of life. And we built a business around it and have an online product called Brain University as well.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And you've been doing it for how long?
Well, I've been probably since I was at Harvard, so 2005-ish or so. But we've been operating the business now for the last couple of years, and we've been building clinics here in the Valley. We have over 10 clinics now throughout the Valley, and partnering with companies like yours to get it out there. So we're in infancy in our company, but our research, we spent about 6 or 7 years researching things to make sure that this would be Medicare approved, and it was well supported empirically before we started making it into a business necessarily.
So back up for 1 second. Medicare approved.
Medicare approved.
So tell me what that means.
It means zero cost if you have primary Medicare.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Did that take a long time to get?
Yeah.
So you got a CPT code.
We got a CPT. Well, we utilized a CPT code that was not being utilized very often, and we just a neuropsychologist happens to be in the head Medicare board, Tony Puente. He's a very smart guy, and so I knew him, and I approached him over a period of years, and I said, "What is it going to take?" And he said, "It's going to take a lot." And I said, "That's good because we don't want to go to market with something that's not incredibly supported." And so what it takes is it's not a sort of a gold stamp of approval forever. Fortunately, what it is that as long as this continues to work for people and you can show efficacy with the individual person that you're using, then we will continue to pay for this, and that's the way it should be. And that's we pride ourselves on having a research support for a program like this.
So, if people want to learn more about this, they go to smartbrainaging.com. Is that it?
Yeah, that's correct. For the majority of listeners that are out there that are driving in their cars or doing some stuff around their home or at work, they'd be more appropriate for an online product that we have, and that's called Smart Brain University. It's essentially the exercises that are Medicare approved in an online format, and they can go to Brain U online, brain and then the letter U online.com.
Yeah, I'm checking it out right now. First of all, I looked at the smartbrainaging.com, and that's a robust website with a lot of stuff, and you can get to Brain U from that, right?
Absolutely, yep. If you go to that website, you can get right to the Brain U online.
All right, so how can this smart program, benefit people that are in the early ages or early stages of dementia?
Yeah, so one of the things that I try to caution people on is, and you guys were alluding to this and talking about it as Michelle was speaking, is that we don't know. The reality is that the average person or even the above average person that has knowledge in this area does not know when they're developing dementia. It's developing in the brain 6 to 8 years prior to any real noticeable symptomology. So one thing is that we don't know. So our whole thrust of our company and our mission is to say, just like yours, is to say, why not do brain exercise the same way that we do physical exercise as we age? Nobody knows if they're going to get a heart attack. but we do physical exercise to help prevent it. The same way we should be doing the right kind of brain exercise to help prevent it, whether we feel like we're getting it or whether we feel like we're not. If we do feel like we're at the early stages, we can be a benefit, but the unfortunate reality is that as you get into dementia, most people self-identify when they're already in stage 2, and there's the intervention from a medical perspective is not really positive at that point.
You know, we're coming up on a break, but I know I've heard Dr. Ryman and Dr. Theriault and even Dr. Langbaum, which have all been guests here, except for Dr. Ryman. He promises he'll be on the show in 2017, but you know, there is a propensity of having this gene. So I you know, if you get a chance and we can get it in this segment, if not, we'll get in the next segment. And that's that hereditary gene that, you know, that says that, you know, if your mother has it or your father has it, you have X percentage chance of getting it. Because where I'm going with this, that would cue you into wanting to do the brain university.
Yeah. The folks at TGen are really hard at work on that as well. So as you mentioned, we just happen to be at the epicenter of a lot of this research here in Phoenix. So it's great that there's such brilliant minds looking at it.
All right. Well, we're up against a break here. It's hard to believe we got 3 segments down. I promise we're going to hear from Glenn Piche because, you know, music is one of the things that helps so many people that have memory care challenges. So I want to talk a little bit about that because you play in a rock and roll band with a bunch of doctors.
Some call it that.
Yeah, some call them that. There you go. Well, listen, you're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth. We're talking Alzheimer's, dementia. We're talking about solutions that we have here to help those families through Smart Brain Aging, through Dr. Denboer's company, as well as through Cypress HomeCare Solutions and the programs that Michelle Toft is leading for us. We will be right back.
In the blink of an eye, they're applying for college, getting married, buying their first home, raising your grandchildren, and just how you're always with them on every step of their journey. Alaris will be right there with you on yours. See how Alaris does banking, mortgage, retirement, and wealth management differently at Alaris.com, or stop by and talk with us today.
How would you like to tell the state of Arizona you want to give to a nonprofit charity and have your donation take the place of your state taxes? Through aztaxcredit.org, you have the opportunity to give to one of several charities, and you'll receive a dollar-for-dollar tax credit. Not just a deduction, but an actual lowering of your taxes. Listen to this message on the impact you can have.
I love the idea of being able to help the hurting in our community who are trying to make ends meet. They call them the working poor, and I'm able to give to a nonprofit that serves them, and ultimately it doesn't cost me a dime. I get it all back when I file my Arizona taxes. I think everyone should choose an organization that touches their heart and take advantage of this opportunity. I tell all my friends there's a wide range of organizations on aztaxcredit.org to choose from. Just do it.
Go online to aztaxcredit.org. Choose one of the worthy charities listed. Click on the link to their website and make a donation. For your donation, you'll receive a tax credit. Too good to be true? Nope. You tell the state you want your tax dollars to go to help those in need. Go to aztaxcredit.org. aztaxcredit.org. At last, paying your taxes will feel so good.
Scottsdale Cigar Club is without doubt the friendliest cigar store and lounge in the Valley of the Sun, conveniently located in the Scottsdale Air Park at 14525 North 79th Street. Our phone number is 480-946-7833. 350 choices of cigars. We are open to everyone 7 days a week. Free Wi-Fi, 7 TVs on one wall. Hope to see you there.
Get ShopVac's most powerful, feature-packed 14-gallon wet dry vac now at an amazing low price of only $149 for a limited time only, available only at Lowe's.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and we're on our 4th segment. Hard to believe that we got 3 knocked down, and We're talking Alzheimer's and dementia. I've got Dr. John Denboer from Smart Brain Aging, Glenn Piche, and Michelle Toft here in the studio. And Glenn, when we left off, we're talking about music and what it does to not only us that are not afflicted by the disease, but music is something that we have discovered is a great therapy for those that are dealing with dementias and Alzheimer's.
It's fantastic, and they say it's the quickest way to your soul, music is. And one of the things that I've tried to do in the places that I've worked is to offer music as a form of recreation and in a sense, therapy for patients so they can really kind of, reconnect with their past in a lot of ways.
And I believe the organization's Music and Me, and I could be wrong. I believe that's it, and it was discovered by a gentleman by the name of Dan Cohen, and he was in New York, and he discovered that those that are afflicted well into past stage 2, 3, and 4 that are nonverbal, you put these headphones on and you grab these little iPods that are preloaded with music from their generation. They light up and turn on. It is the wildest thing you've ever seen. So this isn't intended to be a promotional spot for Music and Me, but I just wanted to tell people that music is a great therapy. And I had a chance back early on when I started, and it was probably 11 or 12 years ago. I went over to the Barton House, and that was back when there was only one of them, right by Chaparral High School, and it was right around this time of year, and they were playing some Christmas caroling music, and it was amazing. And the exec director said, most of these people don't talk, but they were singing, and they were belting it out, and they were in the moment. It was a sight to be seen. So what I want to talk about just real quickly is I had Dr. Langbaum on last month, and one of the things that she's in charge of is this thing called the Alzheimer's Prevention Initiative, or registry. And it isn't owned by Banner. It's actually, there's a number of groups that are part of this, and the Mayo Clinic's part of it, the Cleveland Clinic's part of it, Johns Hopkins. I mean, there's probably a dozen or so that are part of this. And it's an Alzheimer's registry, and the important thing to know is that, we talked about in the last segment, John, is that, if you have family history, you probably want to be a part of this study, and it's all anonymous. And they have this gene match program, too, that's part of it. So, you'll get this kit, and all you have to do is do a swab test. You will remain anonymous, so don't worry that you may be discovered and you won't get insurance or anything like that, or your DNA is going to show up on the crime scene. But it's real important for a lot of families to know this, and it is a great tool for researchers to have. And I just want to reach out to our listening audience, and John, if you want to comment on it, you can. But it's endalznow.org. It's endalznow.org. And right now there's over 250,000 people that are part of it, 254,241. And I will say this, because I am a part of it, even though I do not have family history. If you want to just get information, sign up for this. They don't spam you. You might get an email once every month or two, just giving you updates on what's going on with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, absolutely do it. I think you had mentioned the HIV movement, and I thought that was a really apt analogy. I mean, people create movements, and scientists help find answers, but people will solve this problem in the manner that you described. So I would really encourage anybody to get involved.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. So as we wrap up this segment, we only still have a couple minutes. I want to turn it over to you guys, Michelle, Glenn, and John. Some lasting thoughts that you want to leave our listening audience relative to this disease, and what would you say to them if they have a family member that's afflicted with it, friend, neighbor, or maybe they may suspect that they might have something going on?
I would just say, ultimately, I'm going to sound like a psychologist here. Ultimately, what it comes down to is just a sort of unconscious perception that you have in your own brain. And until you change that perception through education and awareness, then your behavior doesn't change. So I would just make a plug to everybody to recognize that dementia is typically not what we think it is. It's not. It is some people that are that are getting older and that are in a mid to late stage. But what we need to refocus our energies on is that very early stage prevention idea. That it's the person in their 60s that's getting older that may be working. And I would encourage the healthcare community, and I think we're moving to that fashion. You spoke about it, to just think about prevention in addition to care, and that's kind of where we hang our hat. And thank you so much for even just bringing this topic to light.
Right, John, and I would absolutely agree that it's that early stage and that pre-diagnosis. We don't work out at the gym because we had a heart attack. We work out to prevent the heart attack. And the same is true with things like your smart aging, that we do this to prevent and to try to build up before we have the signs of dementia. There's that whole preclinical phase that you might be able to see if you go to the doctor and get scans and tests. But we do this as a preventive mechanism before we have those scans and tests. We do this to keep our brain healthy early on.
It's exciting to see folks like yourself and the awareness level going up in our society around this disease. It's really great to see that we're accommodating more to the dementia patient. I saw in the news recently that Heathrow Airport has all their employees trained on dementia, and recognizing that a person at the airport could be highly disoriented. And just, I know Cypress HomeCare does an excellent job training their employees. And, remedies like smart brain aging is outstanding as well. So thanks, John, for your efforts there.
And I want to conclude by saying we are making breakthroughs. I mean, there were initially, I think it's 6 cities that were selected as part of Dementia Friendly America, and Tempe is one of them. And Jan Doherty, who you mentioned, is no longer directly affiliated with Banner. She's leading that charge, Dementia Friendly Tempe, and she has said that she wants it to be Dementia Friendly Arizona. So her goal is to branch out Tempe and go out to other areas. I have the pleasure of sitting on the Task Force Against Senior Abuse with the Attorney General's office, and we work with lots of first responders. And we just 2 weeks ago did a dementia virtual tour with first responders from the city of Phoenix, city of Mesa, detectives, you name it. It's really exciting because we really need to come together. It's going to take a village, and we are that village. Well, I'm out of time. So make it a great day. Have a great weekend. Thank you for being on the show. We'll be back next week.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Since 1894, Ameriprise Financial has worked for their clients' futures, helping millions of Americans retire on their terms. Work with Ameriprise Financial Advisor Wayne Candace, and together you'll develop a customized plan for your retirement. Discover the one-to-one relationship you deserve. Call Wayne today at 480-922-4215. Office is located at 16220 North Scottsdale Road, Suite 250, Scottsdale, Arizona 85254. Investment advisory products and services are made available through Ameriprise Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
Money Radio 1510
and 99.3 FM.
It's KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257CD Phoenix. 5 different days, 5 different shows to break up the day. Listen at noon each weekday and get a wealth of information from Money Radio. Right now, we'll tell you what's happening in the market with the Dow down just a fraction of a point now. S&P 500 down about 4, and the NASDAQ is down 16 points.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin